I believe we are live. Welcome to Tunnel Vision, a show by USCFootball.com. Welcome everybody in from Periscope, YouTube, Facebook Live. We're doing a trimulcast, as someone said in the comments last week.
Trimulcast.
A trimulcast. I'm joined, first off, I'm Keely, Eure, reporter for USCFootball.com, joined by Inside Troy, Ryan Abraham, publisher and owner of USCFootball.com.
Yes, I said USCFootball.com dictator. Maybe, I don't know if that's not how we run it here.
No, it's not.
But you know, we usually have three of us.
We do, usually.
Yeah, so I'm not sure what you're showing on there.
It's you and me in
okay.
an empty chair.
So we don't have a shotgun.
We don't.
We do have photos. We could show you those as he runs in here.
We do.
And Shotgun did text us asking if we wanted anything to drink, like 10 minutes before the show was going to start. Like, you got to get here. Like, physically being here is important for a live show with cameras and that kind of thing.
Where it's very noticeable if you're late.
Yes, you can see. And then, like last time, he like walked in as like we were going live. Now it's just like
look who's running. Yeah,
with drinks in hand.
Let's get a wide shot, shall we?
Yes.
So there is Shotgun.
Yeah, late again. So
late again.
Perfectly on time.
Stopping to get drinks. Well, anyway, so here's what we're going to do today. We're going to do a great show. We're going to broadcast live on Facebook, on YouTube, and on Periscope. So I think it's all working. How the numbers look over there, Keely? Anything terrible?
Pretty good. Let me put a two shot on you so I can look at it.
Yeah. But I mean, the numbers on the top of the Wirecast, we're looking okay? Like
yeah,
nothing.
Looking good. We're not pegging or anything.
Good. See, there's a lot of technology that goes into this stuff to make sure this all works. So kind of scrambling beforehand. So hopefully it's going okay. We're still going to make some more updates and improvements to the show. But, you know, keep the comments coming. We do appreciate all the feedback.
It's true.
And we got, what are our topics today, Keely?
Well, our topics today are the first week of fall camp. We're almost done with a full week, correct?
Just about, yeah. 5 practices down and full pads already. So
full pads. We just came off the mini scrimmage that USC had on Wednesday, so we'll go into that. Well, let's talk about Mr. Porter Gustin and his injury and how the Trojans got lucky. And then we'll go to, of course, what everybody's waiting for, the quarterback battle, what we've seen in the first 5 practices from Jack Sears, Matt Fink, and JT Daniels. And then we're going to go into who impressed us, who is standing out to us in the first week.
Yeah, we'll probably have to talk about there's a new phase 2 on the offensive line. We can get to that one too, but I didn't put that in the little comments there. That just kind of came off the top of my head, you know, as we're doing this.
Yes, and as always, put your comments either on Facebook or on YouTube, and we are monitoring those. We will answer them. I
could try to monitor Periscope too, potentially.
Oh yeah, and Periscope, if you're watching on Periscope, we'll show you some love too.
Yeah.
I don't know if we're live on YouTube right now.
I'm searching for it.
I have it right now, and it says we're not, but it does say we're streaming on YouTube. Sorry, guys.
Turn it on?
I did. It says we're streaming to YouTube. Anyway.
I wonder if the YouTube one's not working.
I'll take care of it. First thoughts from the first week of fall camp. What have you guys seen?
So it's kind of been interesting, the up and down nature of how the offense is going, how the defense is going. You know, we're seeing the 2 spotting, which they like to call it, where they're running 2 different drills at once. There's a lot of reps. There's a lot of depth. We're seeing a lot of that. I think some of the play on the offensive line has been up and down, but I really like the way the offense sort of bounced back. Pressure from the defensive line, but full pads yesterday. I thought the offensive line did a little bit better job. There was a couple bad snaps. They ended up taking Toa Lobodon out like after the first, I think it was the second bad snap. He snapped over, I think, Matt Fink's head one time and then like a low snap or something. They pulled him. But, Clay Helton said afterwards they put him back in. That's something that he's, working on and he's getting better. There was far more bad snaps beforehand. And I think, Shotgun, you pointed out, he hasn't really snapped, especially with pads on, for quite a while. He was playing left tackle all that time. Mm-hmm. So didn't seem like Clay Helton was all that concerned about the snapping issues and stuff. So it seems like it's getting better. But you got to get that point of attack. If you can't get the play started, it's really hard to get the play to go anywhere.
Yeah, and while he didn't seem as concerned after practice, he was really fired up during practice. He threw his clipboard at one point, yelling at, having to get the snap better. And like I said, Toa, like you pointed out that I said, hasn't really played center in almost a full 2 calendar years. I mean, he played 1 game in 2017 or 16 and was injured and he was done. Last year he did some in camp, but he never was taking the first team reps there. So there was the snaps weren't terrible then, they weren't great. But I think once he just gets some more reps with the pads on, because it's different. It's obviously different. There's a lot more, the mobility is more restricted when you have the pads on, you have, the straps going underneath your armpits. It changes things there. So I think that's part of it. I think it's just a little rust there. I think he'll get better. Now, if it's a concern, next weekend, we're having the show next week, then you start looking at, hey, maybe we need to make a change, maybe something has to happen here. But right now I don't think that's that big of an issue.
Yeah, I don't think so either. They're going to do a Coliseum practice today. There's going to be more of a scrimmage on Saturday, also in the Coliseum. We saw live tackling on Wednesday. Today's Thursday, right? What day is it? I don't know what day it is anymore because it's fall camp and that's every kind of crazy.
That's how it feels.
Blur. Yeah, so full tackling Wednesday, which was pretty cool. There's some guys definitely banged up, and maybe some of the offensive success yesterday was limited Cameron Smith, no Porter Gustin. Certainly those are 2 leaders on the defense, but I don't know. What do you guys think about that? I thought the offense did play a lot better yesterday.
I mean, if you looked over when they were warming up, the guys that were standing on the side that were injured, that were not going to practice, you had 3 potential starters with Cam Smith, Porter Gustin, and Keely.
Yeah.
You had 2 5-stars with Chuma Adoga and Olawale Batiku. You had another potential 5-star, should have been a 5-star probably, Solomon Tuliapupu.
Yeah.
2 of your highly touted freshmen with Tuliapupu and Devin Williams both out. And then you had 2 tight ends out because Daniel Morabebe still is not full go yet. And then also Eric Cromanhook was not practicing yesterday either. So that's a pretty good chunk there. And when you talk about 3 starters on any, with the offensive line, when you lose 3 starters in Washington State games, it's not going to be as good.
Yeah.
Defense, you lose 3 starters, it's not going to be as good. Obviously, there's still some battles out there, and it's an opportunity for the coaches to see who can fill in those roles if it does become, something that pops up during the season. And, with Cam Smith's injury, you've seen Jordan Iosefa move around. That's something that Clancy actually said that they were planning to do anyways at some point in fall camp. So he's like, well, now we just got to do that, even though, we didn't want to do it because of an injury. We got a chance to do it now instead of having to wait till later. So they're just taking advantage of what they can, and the young guys have to take advantage of these opportunities. That's what you have to do in fall camp.
Cool.
Yeah.
Are we up on YouTube or is
we are.
Oh, good.
I think that was a me computer problem versus us problem. So
okay,
apologies.
That's fine. Yeah, Periscope's working, so we're on everything.
We're up and running. It's good.
Yes, I like it.
We mentioned Porter Gustin's injury. It looked pretty bad when it originally happened. He got tangled up in a play and then fell to the ground.
Did you actually see that? Did you see them get tangled up? Because I think you were the one that were closest to it, or?
Yeah, I did see. It was kind of a non-contact thing. He fell to his hands and knees, and then he got up and then extended his leg and then kind of hobbled a little bit, and then suddenly the trainers were like, oh no, and came over, and then they had to help him off the field. He went down on the sideline. Trainers looked at him for a while, then he was carted off the field. And whenever someone is carted off the field, everyone just holds their breath. It did not look good. And then I was driving out of USC, and someone was walking kind of in the middle of the street. And I'm like, who's walking in the street? I don't want to hit them with my car. And then I do a double take, and I'm like, that's Porter Gustin with a knee brace on. And I was like, oh. So then I tweeted out, I was like, Porter's walking, and he looked pretty not as bad as what we saw in practice. And then they said that Porter Gustin has a light meniscus tear. He's getting surgery today to fix that.
Had surgery already. I heard the surgery went well.
Oh, there you go.
Oh, nice.
So the expectations are 2 to 4 weeks. That's what they're hoping. That was kind of the word before they got into the knee. I haven't heard officially, after they were able to get in, but from what I was told, that the surgery did go well, so I would assume that means that is still the same timetable. So then the question becomes, is he back for the first game? Is he back for Stanford? Is he back for Texas? And one of the things I said, on the message board today when I heard that the surgery went well is that hopefully he heals quickly and they don't rush him back.
Yes.
I was about to say that.
Yeah.
You hope that this time around they learn their lesson, they don't listen to Porter, and they just let him recover as much as he needs to recover, especially the first game. I don't think you necessarily need Porter, especially the 5 games in September. You need Porter later on. Save him, let him rest. Don't do what you did last season.
And so Rasheem Green had this last year, apparently according to Clay Helton, and it was a 2-week recovery. I think Ajane Harris was closer to the 4-week side. we'll see. Porter's going to work it out, as much as he possibly can. He'll rehab it to death. So we'll see kind of what he's come back. Like Keely said, probably don't need him back for the UNLV game. You would definitely like him back for the 2 road games against Stanford and Texas. So we'll kind of see how that goes. It was last year he got hurt against Stanford, right? And then he came back 4 days later after surgery to play against Texas. That knocked him out until Arizona State, which he played probably too much in that game, like he said, and then you never really saw him again. So it shouldn't be anything like that. He was walking around yesterday at practice. I tweeted out a picture. It wasn't a great picture, but tweeted out a picture of him in a knee sleeve. He didn't look like he was like hobbling around or anything. And then, now he'll have the surgery. So we'll see what, maybe he's in some kind of card or something now. I don't know, after the surgery. But those aren't usually, it's a partial tear, usually not that big of a deal. So the people that were worried about Porter Gustin being out for the season, that's positive.
Well, the positive is that it's not a ligament. It's meniscus
Yes.
versus a ligament. Ligament, you're pretty much going to be done for the year, depending on if it's fully torn. Whereas the meniscus, even if it's fully torn, that's maybe an 8-week recovery. So at the latest, you should see him back mid-season. At the very latest, if there's complications or something, if there were complications during the surgery, which doesn't sound like there were, but if there were, then that would be the latest thing. But expect him back in the first month of the season, I would say. It'll be interesting to see how they bring him back, how quickly they try to bring him back, how much he plays to begin with, all those things because of what happened last year, and not to anyone but him.
Yeah.
This is the same person, so it's not like, well, we saw what happened, this one person, we rushed him back a little bit, and it didn't work. No, this is the same guy. He came back way too soon from having, the screw inserted into his broken toe and trying to play that same week.
4 days later,
Did not think that was smart. Now, Juju did the same thing.
In a hand.
In a thumb.
Not a foot.
Which obviously a receiver needs his hands, but everyone needs their feet. That's the difference. Like you're going to be on your feet, and plus you're carrying 260 pounds if you're Porter.
Yeah.
Putting that much extra stress on a foot was not a good idea, in my opinion, for him to come back there, and it turned out to be that way. And then when you bring him back and you say, well, he's going to play 20 to 25 plays, don't play him 42.
Right.
So we'll see how that changes this year if they make those adjustments. I mean, that's one of the big things we've talked about. Have they learned from their mistakes in a lot of different things? The quarterback decision type of thing, with playing some veterans before the young guys, when the young guys look like they're ready early in the season. What adjustments are they going to make this year? Is it going to be the same thing? Now, you and Gerard think it's going to be the same thing because they haven't really proven that they will change anything.
Yeah. I kind of think now I'm still betting on JT Daniels at this point, but
Interesting.
I'm just referring in general to them making changes.
Well, let's move on to our next. We've already gotten a lot of questions about this, but the quarterback battle. What have you seen from those two?
There's a quarterback battle?
Yes.
Why would people ask about that?
So basically it's still 3 guys. Clay Helton was asked if they're going to pare it down to 2. Doesn't sound like that's going to happen.
He did entertain the thought, though. I thought he was going to strike that down, but he did say maybe.
But not yet. But not right now. That probably will happen or potentially could happen. What he did last time was he brought in for Max Brown. He had called. I think I broke that on Twitter. That Max Brown won the thing, won the job. But he talked to each guy individually, and then they let it out to the media or whatever. But I had got word that Max Brown won the job, and then kind of whatever we said that thing. So we'll see what happens. Maybe he lets all 3 go until the end. I've been really the Jack Sears thing has been he's the the third wheel sort of dude, and he's not been the third wheel when it comes to the competition. He had a couple touchdown passes yesterday. First 2 practices he was over 90% or 85% or something. And yesterday I just put this up on USCFootball.com charting all the throws, the competitive throws. He had the highest percentage again. It was up in the 80s or whatever. So I thought he's been really impressive. But JT Daniels makes throws that I don't think either of the other guys can make, like arm talent wise. I think Matt Fink's done pretty well as well. I mean, and Fink and Sears have had some nice runs. So it's been I think it's a fairly even competition. I don't know what you guys think, but
it's been fairly even, and I will say that the 2 guys that have been here have elevated themselves. Because during the spring we said no one took that opportunity to push themselves ahead. They both were mediocre. In the fall, they've all been. Nobody's been great, but they've all been good.
Yeah.
No one's been bad out there. So
they both played better than they did. In the spring.
Definitely. And some guys have made some really good throws. I mean, Jack Sears, has made some nice throws. Like you said, people thought he was kind of out of the race. After the spring and the fact that he didn't kind of push himself in front of Matt Fink or kind of boost himself up there. And they said, well, when JT comes in, he's out of the race. No, he's right there with it. He's
Yeah.
he's been maybe even the best guy, depending on it. With your completion percentages and everything else. You've seen really nice passes from all the guys, some deep balls. The receivers haven't caught all of them, but
Yes, there've been some drops.
which have hurt some of those completion
I
percentages.
tried to put those in the notes, like, hey, there was a couple drops or whatever. It wasn't too many yesterday. There was a couple, but
Well, there weren't too many throws yesterday.
there wasn't as many. Yeah, they did 7-on-7 again, which they haven't done for a few practices. Then they did a lot of the live tackling, team run, which is that was pretty much all runs, like maybe one pass or something. And then they, mixed in some passes later. But what do you think, Keely, of the...
I think it's interesting how much Jack Sears has improved in the offseason, and you hear that from the coaches too, from T and Brian Ellis. He's definitely made that improvement. I have always been in the camp that the competition will be between Matt Fink and JT Daniels. I've definitely changed my mind about that.
So it's a 3-man race for sure.
I think so. The thing, when you ask coaches about Matt Fink, they're kind of like, Matt Fink, he's hanging in there. He's doing a good job. But you don't hear as much as you do positive praise in regards to Jack Sears and JT Daniels. Whether that means anything, I don't know. I have a hot take, though. Helton has been putting a lot of emphasis on Saturday scrimmage. It'll be in the Coliseum. He said they're going to treat it like a preseason game. I think he's going to take a lot away from that. There's not a lot of time to make a decision. You kind of have to get going with who you're going to have, and it's hard to have 3 quarterbacks doing equal reps all the time. How are you going to get that flow? Maybe, this is a hot take, he narrows it down to 2 after Saturday.
Wow.
Not sure, but it's a possibility.
Now, when he was asked the question, he said, there's got to be a big discrepancy. There's got to be a big drop-off for that third guy for him to do that. So that's why I don't...
That's why it's a hot take. That's why it's labeled that. But, I mean...
I don't think one practice is going to do that. Now, if we see somebody really struggle these next 2 days, which I don't think will happen, then maybe. But I don't think one bad scrimmage would do that. And I think all 3 guys are right there together. I don't think there's too much parity between those 3 guys to decide just to cut somebody out right now, I think.
And the problem is, because there are limited reps, and Clay Helton was asked about that, you can get like 4, 5, 6 plays in a row, and that's about it, and you're moving on. And, if you looked at yesterday, the 2 spotting for 7-on-7, you had JT Daniels and Matt Fink on the closer field to us, and they were basically mostly first and second team. Jack Sears and some of the walk-ons were on the other field, which was a lot of the reserve. So he was throwing the ball to not the best receivers, didn't have the best defenders and stuff, but then they would rotate and he would go with the first team later. So it's not only that you're only getting 5 or 6 reps in a row, but maybe every third of the time you're doing it with the first team or against the first team. So it is limited opportunities. And as I'm charting this, and you're looking like just not that many throws. Like each guy is getting like 10 to 14 competitive throws per practice, like in a scrimmage or in a 7-on-7 or 11-on-11 situation. That's not a lot. I mean, that's not a lot to base it on. So I get that he might not want to eliminate it from 3 to 2, but we'll see with Keely's hot take if he's going to do it.
I don't think that'll happen this week. Next week after the scrimmage, next week you have a full week of practice once more. I think then is when not necessarily that you have to eliminate someone, but someone has to become the starter. Has to start getting the first team the reps the majority of the time, because you have 2 weeks where you're going game. Well, you have a faux. Like a preseason game is how they're going to treat that Saturday, that scrimmage. So that week of practice is going to be treated like a game week. So it's going to be a faux game week, and then you go into game week. So I think when you get to that faux game week is when you have to make the decision that, okay, this guy needs to be getting more reps. We need to start installing everything we want to install for this game, get ready for UNLV, and go from there.
Yeah. In regards to that mock game week, do you agree with that instead of just having more practices? Because I know Dan's in the camp where this is a young team that needs just more fall camp practices and not a mock game week.
I kind of agree with Dan on that. I think it would be better to do another just week of doing all this stuff, and you could pretend, you could get ready for UNLV that time. And I think you probably need as many reps as possible. And as deep as this team is, you'd like to see as much competition as possible to get those spots. You want as many defenders as possible that are going to be in that rotation. It's hard. I mean, I talked about this before, when Jenny Harris came in. You get some opportunities in the summer to be really competitive. They've kind of cut that down a little bit, so I think you need a little bit more of that in the fall. There's not as many opportunities to compete. They don't do a lot of one-on-ones and stuff. Now they're doing it, in fall camp, but they don't really do it over the summer anymore. So, once you switch to mock game week, if you're not in the 2 deep, you're now wearing a scout team jersey and you're pretty much out of it. So you basically have 2 weeks to get ready. So I don't disagree with Dan. I think, having a third week might be a good thing.
What I think is that you could basically split the difference there. Instead of not practicing Monday and doing your walkthrough like you would and on Sunday, treat the end of the week. So Thursday you go in shells, you do your normal Thursday thing where you're basically focusing on the plays and that's instead of a competition. Friday you just do a walkthrough, you don't do any practice, and then Saturday you have a scrimmage like you would a game. I think you could easily do that, and I think it doesn't take away from those extra practice or two you can have at the beginning of the week that you're not going to get with the way they're doing it now.
Yeah.
Shall we get into questions?
We can do that. What do we got for questions?
First, let's give a shout out to Brandon Lopez, who said he just subscribed to USCfootball.com and he's loving it.
Thank you. Yeah, we had a flash sale on Tuesday, I think it was. So yeah, we had a whole bunch of new members. So we appreciate you. You guys make this all possible. So
it's true. Sorry, I'm thinking of a good question. Daryl says, has Langley become more consistent?
I don't know, was he super inconsistent before? I thought he's been doing okay.
He had a really good day, 2 days ago, I believe it was?
Yeah.
But it was interesting because he had a good day after he had some blown assignments. And so when we asked the coaches about Langley, they didn't really want to give him as much praise for the end of his practice just because of the beginning. And the thing they mentioned was a roller coaster. Some of the guys are they're a little bit inconsistent. So I think what they're alluding to is that inconsistency that we heard from the coaches.
Clancy's used roller coaster several times talking to him.
He yells at some of the second-team secondary guys a lot, too. So
that other safety position, which I'm sure we'll get into, so might as well go into it since that's one of the things that Clancy said is that, there's 4 or 5 guys rotating in right there across from Marvell Tell, and he said it's been a roller coaster. They put Isaiah Polomau in there, and he got first-team reps one day, and he said, well, he looked really good in the walkthrough this morning. Not so much in practice today when he got those first-team reps. Bubba Bolden has looked good at times and not. C.J. Pollard has made some plays. You got people rotating in there, and Talanoa Hufanga is still learning, but I think he is. We can just tell that he's going to be a playmaker eventually. So I think with the quarterback competition, I was going to bring this up. It's interesting that Clay's kind of letting it go with some of the positions, whereas Clancy told me, he said, talking about that safety position, he said, I want it decided by next week because I want Marvell Tell to be able to build that camaraderie together in the back end and be able to kind of gel and know where the other guy's going to be and how they're going to work together so they can get that down. So he wants to make that decision by the next week. So this scrimmage coming up, really big in the secondary, I think. I think you've got some guys moving around. Will Keely Ross be back? He was the starter to begin with at that spot, but he's been out for, I think, 4 days now with a hamstring injury. So when you're not out there, you can't really make an impression. So
yeah. We'll see. The battle of the secondary is going to be great. There's a lot of depth. The big thing is going to be, it's not just who wins, but who is going to be trusted to be in that rotation. And
well, speaking of rotation,
yes.
Sean says, will Clancy rotate more this year or just play certain defensive packages the whole game depending on the opposing offense?
I think less packages. There'll be packages, but I think there's going to be more of a rotation. I think they saw what happened, what Ohio State did last year, and they're bringing in hockey lines on the defensive line. I think he wants to. I think he trusts more guys. I think he told me for sure this is the deepest team he's had. So the pieces are there. He just has to pull the trigger. I kind of think he will. I don't know if you think he will.
I think he has more faith in the team this year. Some of the players, the two deep is stronger there. I think he's still going to use packages dependent on opponents. You'll see dime packages against Washington State that you won't see against certain teams. So how he uses those now, will he use that dime package against Texas or against Stanford?
Yeah.
I don't know. I know Stanford actually is the one team 2 years ago that he actually used the dime package on.
Which is strange.
But because
he also used the big package too.
Yes, he used his jumbo package, the heavy package. So Stanford uses so many different formations that you have to be very flexible and use different lineups there, or else they'll catch you and they'll have that 6'5" tight end out there, and you don't have an extra DB that can defend and jump up. Suddenly he's on a linebacker, and Trey Madden gets dominated by Levine Toilolo at 6'8", I think it was, in overtime of that game.
Oh yeah.
So, I think that he's still going to rotate those packages in based on opponents, but I think also you'll see, okay, well that guy needs a break. Let's get Levi Jones in there. Let's get so and so in there.
definitely for a little side note, watch the Stanford game, watch the defensive front, because I think you're going to see it's going to be a lot of fun if they bring in the big packs. If you get like Brandon Keely and Marlon Tuipulotu and Jay Tufeli, if like all those dudes are in there.
Caleb Tremblay, who was a monster yesterday in one-on-one drills.
I mean, we talked to him for the first time the other day, which is great. He doesn't talk. He doesn't like to talk.
A little shy.
He was a little shy, but he did great. He did a really good job. Me and Chris Trevino interviewed him. But yeah, that's going to be fun. Watch the Stanford game. Lots of big, fun young guys up front that are quick and athletic, and that'll be cool.
Someone asked, I lost it. Someone asked, who's going to fill in for Rasheem Green's spot?
It's kind of, they're using Malik Dorton and Christian Rector at that spot.
Yeah.
Now, with Porter Gustin got hurt, Christian Rector slid outside and became more of that hybrid role that he played last year, and Jordan Iosefa moved to the middle. And they like that positional versatility that those guys have. With Jordan Iosefa, he could probably play all four of the linebacker spots if you needed him to. Where they decide to use Christian Rector, and if Christian Rector is producing like he was last year,
right.
So he had 6.5 sacks through 4 or 5 games or something like that last year, and then he got injured. He broke his hand after the Notre Dame game. He got replaced in the Notre Dame game.
Yeah.
And then he broke his hand, and he didn't really, I think he had 3 or 4 tackles the rest of the season. Didn't have the same impact. So if he is producing like he was at the beginning of the last season, you're going to have to get him in the lineup.
Yeah.
Now, they'll use him, even if he's not starting, they'll use him in third down packages to let him just rush the passer when they get some third and longs and stuff like that. I think you'll see some more mixing and matching like that this year rather than just having Stevie Tulicolavatu or Josh Fatu sitting in the middle and basically being out there as many reps as they can handle. I think you're going to rotate those guys a little bit more when you can.
I think you watch Kanai Mauga too, because he's probably taken that. He's doing some Porter stuff, right? Some Predator stuff. So that could open up, other spots where Rector doesn't have to move over, or Jordan Iosefa. So that's what's great. It's so deep. They have a lot of pieces, and it just really depends. I don't think it's going to be one guy just taking that spot. I think it's going to be. They'll use a little bit of a different front. They maybe use one of the bigger guys, and maybe they use one of the smaller guys and kind of mix it up a little bit.
Depth? Are you talking about depth?
Yep.
What is that?
Options.
We have a question from Trell who says, who emerges until Porter's back? Hunter Eccles or Juliana Nico?
Nico?
Dan says Nico, so I never know.
He does say Falanico.
Dan, the thing about Dan is that he chooses how he thinks names sound, and then he just does it. Like Iman is Iman.
It's incorrect. So Hunter Eccles, I've heard from multiple guys have talked up Hunter Eccles that he's really improved.
Yeah.
And you've seen him. I think he got maybe some first team reps yesterday. I know he got some second team reps. Falanico, I think Hunter Eccles has pushed himself up into where that's a competitive battle between those two guys. Good friends as well. But Falanico was obviously ahead last year because he was getting playing time. Eccles was hurt, had the hip surgery. So now I think he's played his way back into that. I think those guys are more on the Sam side. I think you're looking at them at the Sam position rather than the Predator position. Now they can flip those outsides around a little bit. I think Kanai Monga has kind of maybe been pushed ahead of those two guys at the Predator position, so they're looking at them more at that Sam spot to see where they feel in there. Like I said, there's moving pieces, and I think what you can do is, especially if you stop the run on first down, it's 2nd and 8. Put one of those guys in there. Try it out, and give, go 2-play rotations or 3-play rotations rather than 7 or 8. And hey, we need to get a pass rusher in there. Or Rasheem Green never leaving the field, basically, which is unheard of for a defensive lineman. His usage numbers last year were just kind of ridiculous. But you saw Uchenna never came out of the game.
Right.
Porter, when he was healthy, never came out of the game. Like, those were differences where I think now you can go as hard as you can, try to get to the quarterback, and you get a good rush off the edge, and the guy steps up, and you can't get him coming around the edge, and you're a little winded after that play. Tap your helmet, get another guy in there, take 2 plays off, get back in there, go full speed. And then if you do that, you push those sack numbers up because now you're fresh. Those offensive linemen are going every single play. You can wear guys down with a rotation, which is exactly what Ohio State did against USC in the Cotton Bowl.
Cool.
Speaking of the Cotton Bowl,
Those two guys I mix up all the time. Like they're kind of like similar.
31-41?
Yeah, they're kind of like it's 31-41. I kind of like, oh wait, okay.
From a distance, they have very similar body types now. It's easy, especially because the defensive line's often way away. Yes. You're like, wait, which one is it? Oh, that was I don't know, one of them. Just combine them into one, as Keely likes to do, Keely Ross and Isaiah Langley.
In my defense, they switched numbers, so it didn't help. Josh says, will we see more improved play from the O-line, and what will they do to prevent another Cotton Bowl debacle?
So I've got a longer story coming probably this weekend about the physicality. That's something that everyone talked about coming into the season. They talked about it at media day. I talked with Chuma Edoga about it. I've talked with Clay Helton about it. Talked with everyone on the other side, and just looking at it, they know they have to play better. Now Chuma said that they feel like they're being more physical. He physically he has a larger chest. He said that he's up about 12 pounds from last year from the playing weight he had. So he's put in a lot of work with Ivan Lewis in the offseason to try to get stronger as well. I think the group they have to be better. USC has no chance of accomplishing the lofty goals they have this year if the offensive line is not better. Yeah. They have 4 veteran guys there. Those guys have to lead the way. And that was one of the things we talked about a lot last year. There was no real vocal leader on that offense. No. I asked Chuma about that too, and he said, it's still a work in progress. How quickly does that get resolved? Is there somebody, if someone doesn't get a block, is it instead of, you'll get them next time, is there somebody chewing them out? That needs to happen every once in a while, and that hasn't happened in the past, I don't think, the last year or so.
Yeah, I think there's an emphasis of that. How do you prevent a debacle? I guess you don't play Ohio State again, and they have 9, defensive linemen that could make it to the NFL. But certainly, I was a little discouraged seeing the first few practices, but I think yesterday in full pads, I think it felt a little bit better. If you're a USC offensive line fan and hey, they actually did pretty well. Just kind of making that clean right at the point of attack. It means the snap's got to be good. It means that everyone's moving on the snap and not the left tackle standing there and a defensive end runs around. And there's stuff like that little things that are happening. I think you got to prevent a lot of that. It's the 3rd year for Neil Callaway. There should be some stability there. I did like that, Toa Lobendon's second bad snap yesterday, they yanked him, and I don't think you've seen that before. So I think they get it. This is not going to be a good team if the offensive line struggles. I don't care how good JT Daniels is or whoever else. This is not a thing where you can, get sacked all the time. There are going to be turnovers. There's going to be stuff that's happening no matter who the quarterback is if the offensive line is playing poorly. I think it can be a team that runs the football very effectively. And I think some screen passes will look pretty good, float a little bit better than we've seen before. But you're exactly right. They have to be more physical. If they're getting pushed around the offensive line, this is just not going to be that good of a team.
On the whole, I think a positive of having such young and experienced quarterbacks is that Helton's actually taking the initiative to have more team periods, to suddenly take away 7-on-7 and go straight into team. Yeah. I don't think we'd see that if Helton didn't feel at least worried that he needs to get more experience for the quarterbacks. So if you have team periods happening more often, that's experience for everyone involved. So I think that's a positive.
And there's really good depth on I think there's 14, now there's 15. So they added a new guy, Bernard Shermer. Mm-hmm. So he has 3 years to play 3. He's a redshirt sophomore. There was a video of him where he, in his mind, accidentally punched the ref when he was mad. There's some board of junior college thing that they suspended him for 5 years, but he's not suspended by the NCAA. He appealed that a couple of times. Apparently, he's cleared to play, but I don't know if he can play junior college level anymore. I'm not sure how all that stuff works, but it basically, in his mind and when you look at the video, it was some accidental thing where he was frustrated and not trying to punch the ref. So there's some kind of question about all that. Clay Helton addressed it. He was out there yesterday. We actually have him in our little photo loop if Keely wants to put up the photo of him. But he's wearing number 51, and it's he's going to be there. But he wasn't in pads yesterday, so it'll probably take him 3 or 4 or 5 practices to get in full pads. Yeah,
so what happened is he was in an altercation with another player. He was frustrated by it, that there wasn't a penalty call or something. Didn't know exactly. So he's coming back to the huddle. He was getting separated by the referee, and he punches himself in the helmet to refocus himself. I don't know if you've ever seen someone slap their head. Yeah. All right, get refocused. He was basically, that's what he does apparently. And when he did it, his hand went off his helmet because he was so mad, and it hit the referee, and the referee was out cold. So
not laughing at the referee, sorry.
He was immediately ejected, and he was suspended. He was actually arrested, I believe, on assault charges. And then the video, you look at the video, it's you can see what was actually going through his mind, that there wasn't intent, I don't think. And he did get through a ban, but that's what Clay Helton said, besides looking at the video, we went and vetted it. We talked to his family. We talked to his junior college coaches, everything. His sister plays, I believe, volleyball at USC. Yeah. So there's a family connection there with USC. So he said they spent 3 months vetting this possibility before, it was decided that, hey, let's bring him in.
All right.
Kyle says more QB under center this year.
No. Talked about this last week. No.
No.
It was, 13 plays or something last week? I don't
Sorry,
remember.
Kyle, you got
Offensive line, we do have a Periscope question. This one's from
We have a full shot now.
Banshee23 John. Hi. Do you think Justin Dedich can compete for playing time in his first year?
I really like Dedich.
Yeah. He came
There's-
in, they put him in when Lobendon was pulled, right?
No, that was Brett Nealon.
Oh, it was Nealon, okay, yeah.
Dedich, multiple times, he'll just, suddenly the play will kind of be dead, and he'll be 5 yards up the field blocking someone. And I'm like, okay, that's
Yeah.
interesting. He has a fire that I think is needed.
Yeah.
And I asked Chuck on this on our podcast last week. Is Dedich or Nealon, are they good enough where you try and find them someplace on the field? I don't know.
So, and what I think I said last week is, I've talked a lot since then, so maybe I don't, is that the problem there is if the question becomes, is one of those guys better than one of the guards? Because that's where you're going to move Toa more than likely. I don't think you're going to move him back at left tackle. I think you have confidence in Clayton formerly Johnston, now Bradley, and Austin Jackson, that one of those guys is going to take over the left tackle spot. I don't think you want to push them down the depth chart and force them to be backups again. I think they've earned that spot. So is Toa low, or is one of those younger centers, are they better than Chris Brown or 72 Andrew Voorhees?
Yeah, 72.
See the number in my
So
head.
yeah, the numbers.
For some
You
reason,
have to see
Austin-
Shotgun's chart when he's at the game, like every number
Practice.
listed, which practice. It's pretty crazy. I'm doing my little quarterback chart, and he's got every player. It's like finding every guy on the field. It's nuts.
So with that, you have to decide, is Brett Nealon or Justin Dedich better than one of the? He's definitely not going to surpass Chris Brown. So is he better than Andrew Voorhees? I don't think either one of those guys can pass Andrew Voorhees after him getting playing time last year. And Justin Dedich is third on that depth chart right now. Now, we love the fire. I mean, there was
He's
one
got
play
fire.
yesterday. Keely was talking about it. He was like 10 or 12 yards down the field. Like, there was a running play, and I think it just got stopped. It was supposed to be a wide play, and he takes a guy, and he just keeps going. He keeps going.
Yeah.
It's like, where is he going?
Did they throw a flag on that one? I don't know if they did.
No, it was definitely not a flag on him.
It was legal.
Okay.
Yeah, he's just like Forrest Gump, though. He's like, and I just decided to run. I just decided to block him 15 yards down the field.
Your thing's frozen.
It's paused.
Francisco
I'm just getting
says,
the questions.
Oh, nice.
Francisco says, where can I get one of Ryan's USCfootball.com shirts? Merch, question mark?
So we can't sell USCfootball.com merchandise because USC lawyers would be all over us because it has USC football in it. It's trademarked. We've created giveaways and we've given away a whole bunch of shirts and stuff before. I haven't made any for a while.
We should have an instant analysis shirt. That's
We
what
could,
Shotgun's
yeah.
idea.
We
Not
got to
my
get a tunnel
idea.
vision shirt and stuff too. But we're hopefully
If you want
we
merch,
can.
let us know.
Yeah, we'll
Mine.
try to create some. This one was made like years ago. Yeah, whenever I wear it, people ask about it.
It looks
dope.
Stuff.
very comfortable. Sorry.
Dry fit. It's like one of those workout shirts. Not that I have time to work out because it's fall camp.
I got a question here on YouTube from Shelton. It says, from the initial reports from camp, I'm most interested in seeing what changes are going to be made to the return game. Sounds like they aren't giving the freshmen any run at it yet.
Amon-Ra St. Brown's getting a run, right?
Yeah, so Devin Williams and Amon-Ra have both, been. Amon-Ra has been with the punt return group. Devin Williams has been with the kick return group. We haven't seen any full team. We've seen like one period.
Yeah, there's not.
So, that's the thing is, like, you're not going to see a ton during this. Now, we'll see on Saturday they do some live punt coverage and stuff. That would be actually a good thing to see. And we'll see who they put back there. I think Ajene's still in the mix. I think Trayvon Sidney's probably in the mix. Tyler Vaughn's even because of how sure his hands are. Our guys that have been back there for the punt. The return group, Valus is there, obviously. He had pretty good numbers last year, even though he never broke anything too deep. And then I think you see Devin Williams. I think you see Stephen Carr. I think there's some options there. So we'll see what changes they do when they get to scrimmage because we haven't really seen any live periods with special teams.
Maybe Saturday we'll see some of that. My money's on St. Brown being the punt returner. True freshman coming in, bam.
Interesting.
Could be. He's
We'll
elusive.
see. He is, yes.
We have a lot of questions about Olawale Batiku. What's his status? What does his future look like at USC? Will he ever be the 5-star that he was?
I believe he's single, ladies, if that's what you're talking about.
No.
That joke never gets old.
No, it does.
No, it doesn't. He's a good artist too. If you're into that,
It's true.
I love you.
He's a good artist and a good
all the time
dancer.
on Twitter, like, what's the status of blah blah blah? I believe he's single. And it's just,
Basically, Ryan is a troll.
I just
That's
like,
what
yeah,
he is.
just trolling you. You know.
So Wole has not participated in anything yet.
No.
He has been on Rehab Island the entire time. Heard in the spring that he might redshirt this year. Now with the new redshirt rules, I don't necessarily. He may still redshirt, but I think he may play. But first, they have to get him healthy. You know, he had hip surgery. He's been doing a lot of rehab work on it to be able to loosen that up and to get it. There's actually a visual difference in his legs right now, where you can see where he hasn't been able to work out.
Right.
You know,
He's
half of
always
his body.
impressive. Like you look at him, he's very impressive. And we've
It's
heard.
like one massive leg and then one twig. It's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
Twig, it's a little bit far.
Man,
but-
that's tough.
Hyperbole, but yes.
We had
For
heard some
him.
things too. I think you guys too. Like it might be about position. Maybe he bulks up a little bit and moves to like that defensive end kind of role or whatever. Like there's some options there, but yeah, I wouldn't expect a whole lot out of him this year at least. So we'll see. I mean, that could change, but I don't know.
Sorry, our Facebook commenter froze, but
We have one from Periscope if you want me to do that.
sure, do that.
Trojan breakdown. What's up with Isaac Taylor Stewart? Haven't heard anything about him. Part of that impressive group of, but I think Elijah Griffin has been the better performer of those.
Of those two,
guys.
yeah. And throw in Chase Williams as well, who got nicked up yesterday at the end of practice. But of those three true freshmen, I think Elijah is the one that's made a bigger impact so far. Now, Isaac Taylor Stewart has all the tools that you ask for. He's big, he's fast, he's physical. So a lot of times it takes those freshmen a little bit of time to get the playbook down, to get that stuff, to get the technique that they're asking for, because it may be different than what you were asked in high school, especially with a guy that's so athletic and so toolsy like he is. He may not have had to rely on any technique. He may have just been able to beat people with his physicality and speed and height at a lower level. So now, when you move up a level, now you got to get the technique and stuff down. And I think they're learning behind a ridiculously good group of seniors.
Right.
So you look at that, you got Jenny Harris, redshirt senior. You got Jonathan Lockett, redshirt senior. You got Isaiah Langley and Iman Marshall as seniors. Like, that is the best, hands down, the best senior DB group in the country, because I don't think anybody else is going to have four cornerbacks.
If you're that good, a lot of them just leave anyway as juniors. Yeah, and that's without Jack Jones being there, who would have been a junior. You know.
So I think those guys are teaching those younger guys up, and I think we'll see more next week and as we go that those young guys start to make an impact. You know, looking at a different freshman, Paliie Naitiote, didn't really see much from him at all the first 4 or 5 practices. Yesterday, he made a couple really nice plays. They put the pads on, and sometimes that's what it is for some guys, especially linebackers. You know, we put the pads on, turn on the switch a little bit differently. But he looked a lot better yesterday. He was diagnosed and played well, you know, beating guys to spots, that type of thing. So maybe it just takes, you know, maybe it's next week, maybe it's a couple weeks down the road. You know, the good thing for USC is they don't have to rush either of those two guys in because of how deep that cornerback spot is right now.
It's a really deep group, and I think you look in general, you don't always, I'm not saying this about Isaac Taylor Stewart, but you don't always make that transition from high school to college that easy. It's not everyone's like a Amon-Ra St. Brown or JT Daniels. We've seen the Tyler Vaughns come in that were 5-star guys that just needed to like figure things out at the next level, and it did. You know, by the following spring, he was the 5-star guy again. You know, so I think that kind of can happen too. I'm not saying that, you know, particularly about Isaac Taylor Stewart, but if he just kind of, you know, it's taken him a little bit of time, they could easily just redshirt him and he could be in the mix next year, because you got a lot of seniors dropping off the roster, like Shotgun said. So we'll see. But I think Elijah Griffin, of those, you know, 3 corners coming in, has probably played the best. Even though you've had Chase Williams, he was there in the spring too.
Ronnie Bruffin seems really high on Elijah Griffin. He said he's coached really well. He knows all the DB techniques because he played multiple positions in high school. So he says that he was coached super well. And at this point for Elijah, it's just getting him physically used to college football rather than mentally there, which as you were saying, some of the other guys, ITS, it's a mental hurdle.
Also, Elijah Griffin has been returning punts, I believe. I think Isaac Taylor Stewart's been with the kick returners as well.
I think the kickoff.
So those two guys are also in the mix at those positions. They haven't thinned the herd yet. You know, you usually see that at some point in fall camp, where it's like, oh, well, Ronald Jones was back returning kicks, and he was dropping a lot of them as a freshman. And you're like, that guy's not going to return kicks. And then, like, 3 days in, he was like, okay, he's not with that group anymore. He's over with the stretch group or whatever it may be. So we'll see when they thin them how many of those freshmen are left and who is left from the veterans as well.
Yeah.
Happy birthday to Hugo.
Hey, Hugo, happy birthday.
Sheldon says, where has Hufanga been?
Safety?
Yeah, he's playing safety. He was getting, I think, mostly second team reps and stuff. I saw him. He's thinking about it all the time. You see him coming on the sideline and talking with the different DB coaches, asking them, "Hey, I saw this. I messed that up," and doing stuff. So, kind of what you thought it would be. Not anything like I don't remember any like enormous plays that he made or anything. Like he did some big stuff in the spring, but he's definitely out there. He's very active. And learn his craft along the way. One of the impressive freshmen. We had from 21 Stevie on Periscope. How are the freshmen looking? How the freshman linebackers looking? So you talked about Paulie, Kanai Mauga has been great. Like first team reps kind of guy. Who else is out
Abdul
there?
Malik McLean and Elijah Winston are kind of buried at those outside positions, so not getting a ton of reps there. Solomon Tuliapupu is unfortunately still out with a foot injury. He has not practiced yet. We've not seen him in pads yet, unfortunately. So he's going to be a little bit behind. How quickly, when he gets healthy, can he catch up to speed? He's another guy that I think may end up being a red shirt, but a four game guy.
Yeah.
We're going to have to come up with a term for those guys versus like guys that there's going to be true redshirt freshmen because they didn't play at all, or is there it's going to be different? We'll have to figure something.
It's kind of interesting. So we have Shotgun's got the YouTube questions, I got the Periscope questions, Keely's got the Facebook questions.
I got both, but yes.
Are you getting them all? Oh, okay, sorry.
I'm on sure. We've got multiple questions for who we think is going to win the safety spot next to Marvell.
I think Keely Ross's position if he can get healthy and show that, because he balled out in the spring there. I thought he was really good. They're gonna dual train him at the nickel spot as well, but I think you don't need him at nickel because you have Ajene Harris and you have Jonathan Lockett as well. When they go to dime, I think you'll get two of those three guys on there as well. But I think it's his spot to lose, I guess, or for someone else to kind of take it away from him. But I think he's at the top right now. And then I think you get Bubba Bolden and C.J. Pollard and Isaiah Polamalu kind of bunched up, and then Hufanga maybe behind them right now. But I think Hufanga's the guy that can push himself up the quickest because he's got the playmaking ability once he gets down the playbook and all the other stuff and what he's reading and those type of things. But I think right now at the top is probably Keely Ross, and then I would say of that second group, I would guess Bubba Bolden at first. But Bubba Bolden has to tackle, he has to wrap up. Yesterday he had a big hit. And Marquise Stepp, another freshman, so we brought up most of the freshmen. Marquise Stepp took the hit. It was a nice hit, but he didn't wrap up, so he just bounced backwards, and he's like, well, okay. He just spun and went the other way. I was like, I'll just go this way now. He's like, I'll just use this momentum from the hit to turn myself around, and went up the sideline for about a 15-yard run.
Yeah, Stepp looked really good, I thought, yesterday. He had some, he's big. Like, people were on the sideline like, who's that? I'm like, that's Marquise Stepp, the freshman from Indiana. And as far as Keely Ross goes, I think, not complete trust, but I think Clancy Pendergast trusts him much more than the other guys. So as long as he's healthy, I agree with Shaka. I think he's going to be the guy. But how much are they going to let whoever's third or whatever come in and play, maybe fourth, and rotate guys in? We'll see. But I think the trust factor with this team, I think it's going to be Keely Ross, as long as he's healthy.
Well, that's a big question. I mean, Helton has said it's just minor tightness in his hamstring. Do you think it's something more and they're not fully telling us, or is that just fully precautionary? Because it seems like if it is almost good to go, is it worth putting him back in at this point if you're wanting to decide a safety by next week?
I think the thing is if you can get him and Cam back by the scrimmage, you don't use them before then, especially now that you've had the first pad practice. If you couldn't get them back by yesterday, now you want to get them back by Saturday. That becomes the goal. I think you want those guys healthy for the bigger events, as in the scrimmages of that they're having at the Coliseum and stuff like that.
We had two questions on the Coliseum from Periscope, Banshee and Manawolf. If you like the renovations, we're going to get to see today. We're going to be in the Coliseum, so we'll see kind of what it looks like. It's going to be temporary press boxes, like kind of in the middle of the stadium, like where that tower is going to be. They're like shipping containers, so we'll be in there. The coaches that have to call plays will be in there. We'll be a lot closer to the field than we normally are. We'll see kind of what it looks like, and we're going to get a tour. I don't know if it's Saturday or next next week or something. We got a
Next
tour.
Wednesday.
Next Wednesday, we're going to get a tour. So we'll see. I'm still not a huge fan of the plan, but they're going forward with it. We'll see.
Too late now. Brandon asked a
way too
question
late
in
now.
regard to that. With renovations going on, is USC planning to renovate the locker rooms as well? Now, I don't know that we've heard,
I haven't heard
much
that.
about any interior renovations. It's mostly just the giant spaceship in the middle,
Yeah.
and then the change of the seats. I think that's the biggest changes there.
Yeah, I went in and met with some of the
Keely?
senior athletic people. And,
I'm not on the screen right now, but I'm squinting hard at shotgun
Yeah.
because I'm trying to remember what they told us in the presentation. I remember
I wasn't there.
something.
I don't think
know,
there
I
was
that's why
something real.
but I don't fully know.
Yeah, I mean, their budget was pretty tight, so I don't know if there wasn't going to be anything major if they were doing something at all. So
Richard O asked if we can ask more questions from the YouTube. Well, Richard, he asked, is Saturday's scrimmage open to the public? No, it is not.
yes,
Nothing is open to the public.
Yeah, it's just.
we're trying to get questions from all the places. So
September
Yes, a lot of
But the
1st.
questions, a
Facebook
lot
ones
of
are cool because
places.
we can put them up on the screen. So.
Yeah, we don't have the technology yet to put YouTube up on the screen. That's why we go to Facebook first. There was another question of what do you think is going to happen in the UNLV game? Will it be a blowout?
Probably.
I mean, Western Michigan was tighter than we thought.
Yeah, but that was a team that went to
Yeah, but they lost everything off that team that went. They lost
That's
Corey
true.
Davis. They lost a quarterback. They shouldn't have been in that game, but USC struggled with power backs in that game. Tackling.
We
Right.
also have Cam Smith out for the first half.
Well, he
John
struggled
Houston's
tackling
first
too. He missed a
started.
couple tackles.
Will?
It was the whole team just sucked at tackling that whole game.
Yeah.
It was hot too. It was way too hot.
Yes, it was.
This will be a 1:00 game. Not
It'll be
expecting.
nice and warm too.
Yeah.
A couple quick questions off YouTube that I'll answer quickly. Will USC use unbalanced sets on at least goal line? They have used unbalanced sets in the past. It's not completely foreign.
Not frequent.
They have used they've used some extra linemen as H backs actually, some in fall camp. So I think they're experimenting with some things there. What's the possibility? Paul asked, what's the possibility of Kanai Monga starting now? It's a possibility.
He could certainly start for the UNLV game.
Yeah, I
mean,
don't think it was going to happen. I think Christian Rector would get the nod there, but you would see him play a lot. So, Keely, you asked Dan yesterday who was winning the QB position. Was wondering who you think is winning.
Okay.
Well,
to
who did
be-
Dan say first?
I didn't ask Dan who he thought was going to win the competition. I asked Dan. I said Clay didn't want to make any judgment.
He
off
said
of-
who was. Jim asked who. He said that you asked who was winning, not who has won or
No,
is
no,
going
no,
to
no,
win.
no. I'm clarifying what I said because
All right.
clearly he did not hear me. No, I'm shade. No, I said who did you think was the best out of the scrimmage today? Because Clay Helton didn't want to say it till he saw the tape, so I put Dan on the spot and said, "Who do you think won?" I think Dan said Jack Sears.
I
Maybe?
probably would have went with Jack Sears too.
Yeah.
So they were all fine.
Yeah, and because it also depends on the date of the rotation. You know what I'm saying? Because
Right.
if it's a Jack Sears first team day, does he look better versus does JT look better against like the third team guys?
Yeah.
You know, it kind of depends on the rotation, which is also why I'm like, should Clay kind of narrow it down soon? I don't know.
Sears, I thought looked, and he had a lot of first team reps when the full team stuff was together. When he was with the 7-on-7 stuff, that's when he was with a bunch of the scrubs, which he did fine or as better, as good as anyone else. But when he was with the regular team, I thought he did really well yesterday.
Some people have asked on YouTube about the possibility of using two quarterbacks, one as a dual threat, Jack Sears possibly, or one as a pocket passer, JT Daniels more than likely being that guy. In the old saying, if you have two quarterbacks, you have none.
You have none, yeah. No, I don't see Clay Helton doing that. There's been no hints of that. There's been no, I don't think he was going to do that.
He's always said that there will be one guy.
Yeah.
Now, you
What
might
is the
spot
guy?
somebody in there in special packages like Sam Darnold was.
they did that
to give him a
basically.
couple drives.
I think the only
But
thing
not like
you
a
could,
true.
yeah, not like rotating or something. Like if like Matt figured Jack Sears wins and like JT Daniels is like, right on their heels, maybe they do the Sam Darnold thing like they did, early in the season, but then you're like looking over your shoulder. That's what I felt bad for Max Brown because he never got to start like a full game. Like he never got to play as much as Sam Darnold did in his very first game. Like Max Brown got the start, and you're still going to bring in Sam Darnold. He never was in that position where they didn't let him come in behind Cody Kessler and get a series in the third quarter or anything. So
And who knows if the deep ball he threw on the first or second drive, if that was caught, how things might have been different.
yeah,
If USC would have went up on 10-0 on Alabama
Shoulda,
early.
coulda, woulda.
yeah. We're
Shoulda,
getting some
coulda.
like recruiting questions on Periscope. This really isn't. We're right now we're in fall camp, so we're.
Do you see Gerard here? No, just kidding.
Yeah, no, we'll try to do. I think we're going to do these through the off season too. We'll probably have more recruiting talk then. But
And it's currently a dead period, so we're not seeing a
Yeah.
lot of the kids right now.
We're getting a lot
Though
of
it
questions.
was a big week. I mean, they got 4 commits in 3 days or 4 days.
This has been an insane, all the content we put up just from fall camp, and then you get 3 or 4 commits along that too. So it's just the front page has been boom, 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 boom.
And Coy Moore, the wide receiver from Louisiana, we saw him at USC's elite camp. Someone was like, "Hey, watch this kid. He's from Louisiana," and that's what gets our attention. Like, okay, who's coming from Louisiana for a USC camp? And we watched him. He's really good. Chris took some video of him, got some photos of him as well. We really liked him, so that's a fun pickup, especially with his admiration for Joe McKnight and the fact he wants to wear number 4 as well.
Mm-hmm. We have a lot of questions about USC's record this season. Someone even asked, do you think USC can go undefeated? Shaka doesn't think USC will even go undefeated in September.
I don't think it'll happen. Can they do it? Sure.
Yeah, it's tough. It's going to be tough to go undefeated in September. I mean, that's a tough. You're talking on the road against top 25 teams, and then you got to end with a trap game on the road against Arizona with Khalil Tate and all that. It's not going to be easy. Are they? I mean, you could argue they're the most talented team of anyone. They're more talented than anyone on their schedule. They lost badly to Notre Dame last year. They could turn all that around, but I think the offensive line has to play better. Obviously, you're going to get some good play at the quarterback spot, but I love the defense. I love how deep it is. There's a lot of potential that this team could be really well, do really well. I think the ceiling's very high, but I don't think a 7-5 season is out of the question either. So there's a lot. Some people don't think they could lose 5 games, but you go 1-2 to start, and then who knows where this team kind of goes to. So I think the first few weeks of the season are going to be important. If they go 3-0, I don't think you can pretty much anything's on the table.
We got a comment from Christian on YouTube that says, guys, I go to UNLV. USC is going to blow the team out. So thanks, Christian, for that inside knowledge.
Yes, Christian.
Terrell says, is there any chance that USC could use 2 quarterbacks, not all year, but maybe use Jack or Matt for the Stanford game and JT for Texas or vice versa?
I don't think you're switching unless it's a necessity because one guy sucks or something. Like I mentioned before, the possibility of one of the guys that were already there, Fink or Sears, and you want JT Daniels to get some opportunities, you could Sam Darnold him in the first few games. And then if you lose a couple of them, then he might take over. That could potentially happen, but I don't think any other scenario. I don't think you're going back and forth that you need a running guy against Stanford or whatever, a passing guy against Texas. I don't think they're doing that.
Jorge says, how are Josh Imatorbhebhe and Randall Grimes looking? Do you think we will use a fullback?
Fullback, no.
No.
They don't even have a fullback on the roster anymore. Ruben Peters has moved back to linebacker.
He had some first-team reps when camp went out. Yep. So, yeah. I had to move him on the scholarship chart because I still had him at fullback. So, no fullback. Josh Imatorbhebhe, ups and downs, catch a nice ball, drop a easy ball. I'm a big Randall Grimes fan. I think he's going to be. I haven't seen a ton of him. I don't know if you guys saw it. I haven't really been watching him too much.
He just returned from injury, so he had a back issue. So he just got back 2 days ago. So he was good for the pads, but he's not in the 2 deep right now. So he's not getting a ton of reps there as far as the team competition periods. So he's just got guys in front of him. So
yeah, but I like him a lot. He's
super
got
athletic.
Potential,
Both of those guys have a ton of potential. Both of them are really athletic, big guys, can leap up. Josh Imatorbhebhe maybe even find a role as a specialty kick blocker, just using his jumping ability. Who knows?
Leap. Yeah, he can leap.
We have a question about how is John Houston looking?
About the same. Maybe it's a little bigger. I don't. Do you think it's probably similar? But he's steady. He's trusted by Clancy Pendergast. I think you're going to get about the same as what you got before, but
yeah, even when before Cam Smith got injured, you didn't really focus on him either. Those guys, you just know they're going to be there.
What you saw last year, you're seeing the same thing. So,
Randy says, during the run session, did you see any 2-back sets?
He did. There was a couple. I think. I think Clay Helton was asked about this. It's something that they use. Oh yeah, this was someone. Yeah, this was a thing. I think Dan Weber asked about that. It's part of the packages where they would do a 2-back set with 3 wide receivers, so you take the tight end out. But for the people that are asking, are you going to be under center? Are they going to change philosophy? No, they're not going to use a fullback and run an I formation and change the philosophy. The philosophy is the same. There will be some 2 backs every once in a while and stuff, but it's not. You look at Shotgun's charts, it just doesn't happen all that often.
Yeah, they use it some. They used it. They only one time, maybe 2 times, put Ronald Jones and Stephen Carr back there together, which is what everybody wanted. Everybody was clamoring for, we're going to do this. And they did it, and it was disastrous. Like, they got sacked once, and, like, they lost, like, 4 yards in the other time or something. So, for whatever reason, that didn't work. They used it most often last year with Vi and Ware together.
Yes.
So, it's quite possible you see those two guys together again. Or Stephen Carr, you can use him because then you can also motion him out and use him as a slot receiver because he's so good catching the ball. It gives you options when you put two guys back there, but then you also lose your tight end. So in order for more two-back sets to happen, you need that offensive line to play better.
Right. Yeah.
So, or otherwise you're going to be running two receiver routes, and that's not going to. That's not USC's philosophy. They would rather get their athletes on the field.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if this is a joke or not, but I like it. Rich says, if Brandon Keely is so athletic, why don't they try to use him as a running back in goal line situations?
They could.
Didn't he in like high school, like it was fullback or
Sure
something?
he did.
I think he was.
Definitely could.
I think people brought that up before. He was like a fullback in high school.
If they had
I
a
don't know if we
fullback,
asked about that and they said no, but
if they had a fullback, he would be a guy you could see that. But since the
Yeah.
fullback's not in the offense, it's not like they're going to suddenly throw that in there extra.
Yeah.
Like if you have an LSU offense where you're going to run the ball 60 to 80% of the time, and you're going to trust those running backs in the offensive line because your quarterbacks are trash, then that's what you would do. You would have the fullback, and you can move that guy over there, and you can do special things with a defensive tackle like that. But if it's not in your offense to begin with, you're not going to throw it in there extra just to get this defensive player over.
I think it'd be fun. And if we saw that, we probably couldn't tell you about it or talk about it from practice. Like I don't think that's something they'd want us to like.
Yeah, it'd be fun until he goes Eddie Vanderdoes and tears his ACL
Yeah.
because he was playing fullback and he
What a
celebrates a
bummer.
touchdown.
Every party needs
Think about Refrigerator Perry, which this was before Keely's time, but Refrigerator Perry coming. Yeah, the '85 Bears scored touchdowns. You could do that.
Steve says, has Coach Dave Campo made any impact coaching our DBs? He's
so
not a
much-
coach, he's a consultant, but yes.
Yes, they're so much better now. No, it's neat. I mean, he's former head coach. I love it. Like when you have Nick Saban bringing in, former USC head coaches and Tennessee's head coach and stuff. This is great. This is Clancy Pendergast's mentor. There's limitations of what he can do on the field. I don't know, whatever. There's rules and all this kind of stuff. But you have a former NFL head coach as one of your consultants. I think that's a wonderful addition. I think he's going to be a big help. We're not, it's not like we're seeing like some direct, oh my God, they're so much better now that he's out there, but only positives I think can come from that.
Well, you're seeing him be very hands-on. And when Ronnie Bradford is conducting a drill and still coaching the guys who are actively in the drill, you see Dave on the side talking to guys who just came off a drill, and he's telling them like, hey, you didn't do this, you should do this. I mean, like he's more coaching the
He's
better.
supposed to be coaching the coaches, I think, is more of what he's supposed to be doing.
Yes.
I don't know.
Yeah, but you're seeing a lot of it. But him and Ronnie Bradford are tied at the hip, and it's interesting to see how that dynamic works. But I mean, more coaching is better, I believe.
Yeah, I
Rather
mean,
than less?
You want to bring you're raising your game by bringing in former NFL head coaches as consultants. So that's only a positive. So if you want people to bag on Clay for stuff that he does, this is not something to bag. This is a positive thing.
Yeah. Tyler says ciao from Italy, so we are now an international.
Ciao
podcast.
Bella. Oh yes, that's great.
I love Italy.
what
Where
part?
are you in
Somebody
Italy?
went to Italy.
I've only been to Venice. I'd love to go to like Rome or Florida, but I was like on a European tour. Yeah, Keely did all that stuff. But I only got to see Venice, which was cool, but it was like kind of like a day, and then you're like, all right, we're ready to go on to Vienna or wherever we're going next.
Cool. Very nice.
Yeah.
Any YouTube questions, Shotgun Spratling?
Oh, I thought you said Egypt questions. I was like,
Egypt.
we're going to Egypt now?
We're going to Egypt now.
21 Stevie says, do you believe Carr can be in the Heisman conversation?
He just broke into the Vegas. There was
Vegas odds?
Yeah.
He's in there. Yeah, he's playing more than we thought, especially after what Clay Helton said at Pac-12 Media Day. He's looked good. He caught 3 touchdowns yesterday, I think it was.
2.
He scored
He
3
scored
touchdowns.
2.
He scored.
Oh.
Scored 3 touchdowns.
Really? I
Yeah,
heard
he
2.
did have a drop yesterday though, which you don't see all the time. Like there was like kind of a little thing, but he's got the potential to be special. So,
I mean,
but USC's got to have to win. Like USC has to go 5-0 in September, and he's like a stud. Then he's in the conversation.
Did I say preseason last year or after the first couple games that his junior year he'll be in New York?
What do you mean? What?
Last year with Stephen Carr. I said that he'd be a Heisman
You
finalist.
said his junior year.
Yeah, his
All
junior
right.
year. I don't know about
You
this
said
year.
that. You said that to me during a game,
Yeah.
and I.
And just
wrote
for
it
like
down.
a public service announcement, like stars matter. Like You're talking about the 5-star guys. You know why? Because they're freaking good. And it's really hard to, not all of them turn out, but for the most part, he's a 5-star guy. This is what you're seeing. So he's a 5-star dude. Him and Najee Harris, who's at Alabama, was killing it in the national championship game. So, yes.
Brandon says, oh, sorry. Go.
No, that's good.
Brandon says, it feels like this is a different Clay Helton with the way practices are being run. Would you agree with that statement?
We're seeing some different things for sure. I know there was the whole thing with no music, and then they brought music back on the walkthrough, I think, right before the Arizona game, and it was, our Arizona State game, last year, and that was kind of a revelation.
Thanks to Chris Hawkins, though.
Yeah, Chris
and
Hawkins.
they played really well in that game.
Yeah, exactly. So, but that's one of the things we've seen during stretching now, like during the teaching periods or any of that stuff. No, there's no music. But when they're warming up and stuff, and they're just stretching, there's music. There's some different things like that. I think Clay is you're seeing him morph a little bit. You're seeing him kind of learn. Obviously, he's learning on the job, and that's something you don't want from a USC coach, and that's something that is going to happen with a first-time head coach.
Right.
But he is doing that, and I think you've seen him do some different things. I think he is learning from what the mistakes he's made in the past, what he can do differently, and just the older guys around that he has, the Dave Campos and the guys like that can, and Tim Drevno being back, he can give wisdom. Oh, well, Harbaugh did this if he wants in a meeting and stuff like that. So I think you're seeing him take some of the chastisement he's got in the past and learning from some of the mistakes he's had in the past and doing some things differently.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely some tweaks. I think when you're a head coach, you have to kind of go with your gut. You go with your philosophy. And I don't think he's making massive changes with philosophy, but he's tweaking some stuff. And I think if you see the offensive line play better, if you see special teams play better, I think you have to tip your cap to Clay Helton because those were issues last year. And if he's doing some things, especially behind the scenes, what we're seeing in practice to improve those areas, and if you have to make changes, you do. I think you're seeing that a little bit more now. So, steps in the right direction. We'll see. If they come out and play and lay a couple of eggs in September, that's not going to help. But if they don't, then for him to have a really good September this year with a new quarterback, I think would be a big deal.
Yeah. Christian says, expectations for Sam Darnold's first NFL preseason game tomorrow?
Apparently he's killing it. There's a lot of rookie quarterbacks. There's a lot of games tonight. We're going to be at practice, but we'll try to watch them when we get home. Yeah, I don't know. It's preseason, whatever. But
it's preseason.
Usually the really good quarterbacks suck in their first couple of preseason games. I think he'll probably throw a pick. He'll be like 5 of 11 or something for 48 yards.
All right, we'll see. I kind of think he's going to do well.
He could.
Sean says, are there actual old school DVDs behind Keely? More old school, they're books.
More old school. There's books. There's you can see my 2 degrees up there. A volleyball trophy I won. Freddie Sanchez bobblehead, who's a huge USC fan. He was what was he? He led the league in batting.
Batting average?
Yeah, I think he was a batting champion and stuff. But yeah, he gave me that and a signed baseball when he was with the Giants. I'm a Pirates fan. I grew up in Pittsburgh, so he gave me the bobblehead.
We're approaching the 1 hour mark, so get your rapid fire questions in, and we'll go down and we will answer them. We have from Lau. Oh, or a selfie while this is happening. Who he wants an under the radar player from each of us.
Under the radar?
Was I even in that, Ryan?
Yeah, you were. Okay, so Jonathan Lockett is probably under the radar, and he was out for a while.
Under the radar.
Yeah, out for a while. If you remember, he was going to be the starter at the nickelback spot. I don't know where it's going to be, but my gut feeling is you're going to see a lot of Jonathan Lockett in the second year because he's a veteran. It's going to be much easier for him to get into rotation.
Shaka has the face that he doesn't agree. Sorry, Ryan.
No, that's fine. That's cool. But
I was actually just seeing Ryan take a selfie on the screen. So
never mind. I read that face wrong.
It's going to be hard. I don't know if they rotate those guys more, but you don't usually rotate your cornerbacks that much. I think that
could he be the starting corner? Could he be opposite? I don't know.
I think the 3 guys that are in the starting spots right now, unless Isaiah Langley starts faltering, I think they're due for big years. I think they're all really locked in. So I think it's gonna be hard there. That's for me to find a spot for him. I think is the issue there. I think if you say under the radar, I don't know if you call him under the radar, but said where. I think he's looked really good. I know everybody wants Steve Carr to be there, and he's getting first team reps now, obviously. So I don't know if that counts as under the radar, but I think he'll have a really good season. Probably, 800 to 1,200 yards, would be my guess.
Yeah, he was my pick, and like when you said, and he got more than 10 carries, he went over 100 yards, right? So I think he's going to have a really big year.
I would say Devin Williams, wide receiver.
Ah, yes.
Under the radar. I mean, he high points the ball really well. I think Shotgun has some pretty good pictures of him getting the ball in practice.
He's got a little Tyler Vaughn's in him. Where you'll be able to get that.
Yeah.
That one is ridiculous. That he caught the ball and like you can barely see it in frame. It's like there's no way anybody would catch that ball. But then like the next picture I had is like he caught it. I'm like it's ridiculous.
Yeah. So
because the thing is, in that one picture, if someone goes back and finds it to see it, he's still going. He's starting to go up in that picture. Like he's at the height of other guys that they were jumping, but he's going up in that portion. So he's got some ridiculous athleticism. I think Caleb Tremblay, after what we saw, I think he's a guy that could have 6, 7, 8 sacks.
That's a good pick. Josh says, what can we expect from the tight ends? Will they just mostly block, or will we see screens and other passes to them? We saw a tight end touchdown yesterday.
Yeah, I think.
Oh, that was a jump ball to Tyler Petit. Nice play by him going up to get it. I think the problem is, right now at least, they're all banged up.
Yeah.
I mean, even Tyler Petit hasn't been doing all the drills and stuff. Josh Fowler's like the only guy that's healthy, and he was the guy that we thought was going to be injured in the summer. So,
he's had a few drops. I think I like him a lot, athleticism-wise, but he had a few drops. I think if it's Daniel Metorebe, like if he's healthy and he's in there a lot, I think you could see like what Sam Darnold did in 2016 with him, where he really liked him. They stretched the field with him. You thought they would do that in 2017. Obviously, he wasn't around a lot, but I think as long as he's healthy, they might use that more and not just be like a placeholder.
I don't think you can even say as long as he. I think it's if. I think that's where we're at right now with him because he's just struggled to get back. He's still not, but he's not going full speed now. He's doing some stuff, but he's limited still. So we really hope he gets back. Great kid. Want to see him out there and do well because of how nice of a guy he is. But I think right now it's an if he gets healthy.
Yeah.
Since he's still limited. Eric Cromanhook's out right now with a hamstring as well. Apparently we need to get the bands out for the hamstrings for those guys or something because they got 3 guys down with hamstrings currently.
Here's my question. When there is a repeating injury like that, do you start to raise the eyebrow a little bit?
Yes. You start looking at what your stretching is. You start looking at your weightlifting. Are you doing too much of something and not enough of something else? The thing with weightlifting, you always have to balance. So the easiest and most simple way of saying that is if you do chest, then you have to do back. Basically, whatever's in the front, you have to do the back. So with your hamstrings, if you're doing quad exercises or you're running a ton or whatever it is that's putting a lot of strain on the quads, then you also have to do the same thing on the hamstrings or else you'll get a discrepancy there, and then that's when you can pull stuff.
They do seem to come in bunches and stuff. I know we don't want to get into too much in this stuff as far as philosophy goes, but there have been questions before about nutrition and weightlifting and things like that, but I wouldn't say, this is definitely a weightlifting problem. It's hard to say.
I have a conspiracy theory.
Yeah.
I think Tester Troy on Facebook is Ula Ula on YouTube.
Oh, okay.
So we'll see how that goes.
We had Dallas on Periscope. How's Amon-Ra looked? What's his role early in the year? We talked about him a little bit. Punt return, getting in the mix there, and he's in the mix with the wide receivers and stuff. I mean, he could be the third guy, right, after Pittman and Vaughns.
Could be.
Yeah. So, I think he's looked great.
BB3 asked it, and let me go back to his original question. He said, when I said that the coaches wouldn't use a second running back instead of a third wide receiver because they want to get their best athletes on the field, he said he thinks the running backs are likely our best athletes. He has to discuss that, but then he came back with a second question. Who's more dangerous with the ball in their hands in the open field? Carr said Vi or Step or our wide receiver crew. And he said he'd go with the running backs. Your guys' thoughts?
I mean, I would like Carr, like open field, certainly Carr. Vi's done some really, great things there too. I think, more, Sed's a little bit different. I wouldn't say he's going to be this terror in the open field. I would probably go mostly, more of the wide receivers would do that, but Stephen Carr, he'd probably be my favorite in the open field of all those guys.
So the guy you're likely taking off is either Velus Jones or Amon-Ra St. Brown, who's ridiculous in the open field.
Yeah.
Tyler Vaughn's is really good in the open field. Michael Pittman breaks tackles. I want my wide receivers on the field.
Yeah.
Also, I was a wide receiver, so naturally I'm going with the wide receivers.
Yes.
We have a lot of questions about Connor Murphy. What is he up to these days?
So he's got some second-team reps yesterday.
Yeah.
He was like the last guy into practice for some reason, so he must have been doing a little extra training or something.
So Chris and I were actually talking about this yesterday because in the spring it was talked about how he's going to move inside. He was doing more stuff at the defensive end position. He was back outside yesterday. Maybe that's just because of Porter Gustin's injury and some of the linebacker issues they've had as far as injuries there. But I think that it looks like he's there now. I was going to look today and see. That was one of the things I was going to pay attention to, see if he's still there, if he's back inside, what exactly he's doing there, because we hadn't really heard much or seen much from him. And again, that's the thing with the defensive line. Sometimes they get lost over in the corner. We don't get to see them that much until they start doing. And yesterday was really the first time they did one-on-ones against the offensive line because it's in pads. So you kind of have to wait and see those things. So we'll see how he does. He did okay in the one-on-ones, and then obviously he was getting some second-team reps. So he did enough to push himself into that second-team role right now.
Should probably wrap it up, I guess. Is there any more anything awesome you gotta? I love that we got the Periscope questions, YouTube.
We got it all working. Our Trimulcast.
We had Shotgun showed up, so this was great.
It was. We did it. If we want to do rapid fire, Step looks good. He's a big back. Josh follows blocking, ?
Was not good in offensive line, defensive line one-on-ones. Now that's a little bit different when you go into team settings. Haven't seen him just whiff on any blocks when
you haven't
in
noticed
teams.
In the team stuff.
But in the one-on-ones, he was not very good yesterday. He was getting beat by speed rushes on the outside.
Playoff prediction, someone says?
Come back to me if they're 5-0 after.
Yeah.
If they're 5-0, then I'll jump on that bandwagon. I'll lead the bandwagon.
If you go 3-0, I think they'll make the playoffs.
Someone knows where you were, Ryan. They said the golf course was nice this morning.
I had a golf lesson this morning, so someone saw me there this morning. Yeah, I had a short game. Keely asked me, I had like chipping and stuff at the golf course. That's the last two times I've had a lesson, someone recognized me from the site. That's funny.
Yeah. Tester Troy says one word to describe the QB group.
Young.
Growing, I
like. Improved.
Competition.
Competing.
Yeah.
I think it's still a competition or a battle, if you want to say, rather than it being, okay, that guy's much better than the rest.
Yeah. Evenly matched. That's not.
Someone said ISF is going to go crazy this season. Seizure said on YouTube. I think that's a good guy for under the radar as well. We don't talk about him much, but he's just super consistent. He's like
you can plug him in anywhere.
Exactly. So he's gonna, as long as he's healthy, he's gonna play at one of the. Clancy already said, I don't know where he's gonna play, but he'll be in the starting lineup against UNLV if he's healthy.
I think that's a good under the radar because no one really talks about how talented he is to be thrown into different positions pretty easily.
But he starts already, right? He's
still under the radar. I've said start is technically the starter right now too. So
yeah.
Do you see any philosophy changes with T in play calling?
No philosophy changes. People don't change philosophies. Okay, they're the same people, same philosophies.
Most of the time.
Okay.
What can we expect from Levi Jones, Solo, and Palaie Naitiote? Levi Jones, happy to see him back out there yesterday after missing 2 practices with what was called chest inflammation, I guess, swelling in his chest. But it was not
too swole.
Was not cardiac related, which is the best part of that.
I like him a lot. Ridiculously athletic. He'll have a huge Texas game for sure.
Solo all depends on him getting healthy and getting an opportunity. I think EA will continue to make improvements as he goes. I think he picks up stuff.
I like these word number
quickly.
1. That's kind of cool.
Yeah.
All right.
Final record? Someone wants to know final record. Then that will be it. Last question.
I don't know.
I said, so I've been at the area code games in Long Beach baseball. So a lot of baseball people are always interested. They know I cover USC, so they'll ask me questions. Other head coaches from Pac-12 schools, how's USC? And coaches that formerly, some assistant coaches that were formerly at USC, so still have ties and stuff. And I said the floor is 8-5. That's the floor.
Well,
you're probably going to see
regular season
plus a bowl game.
Yeah, and with a bowl game, 8-5 is the floor.
Okay.
So 13 games if you go there, 8-4 if you want to say. I don't see. I see them probably at 10-2 in the regular season, or was it 9-1 or 9-2, whatever, and then win the Pac-12
8-5
total. Regular season, Pac-12 championship, bowl game. You play 13 games now.
Okay, I'm getting with the.
I think the floor. I mean, I think a 7-5 regular season is not. I mean, it's not likely, but I think it's possible. But I do. I mean, I think 11-1 is a possibility too. So if they start 3-0,
9-3, I feel like that's a nice comfortable.
I mean, I think there's a range. I think there's a wide range. I don't think you can say I think you're going to be 9-3. I think they could struggle,
Yeah.
or they could, play to their talent. If they play to their talent, it's going to be much on the higher end of that.
What's the one thing that determines which side they go to?
O-line.
Yeah, O-line.
Without a doubt.
Yeah.
You can have a semi-competent quarterback, just like hand off balls, if anything. If you don't have the O-line, it's not there.
Yeah. No, I agree with the offensive line. And I think if the offensive line's better, then you've made some tweaks, and that will probably mean that the special teams are going to be better too, because that's just too many hidden yards. If you're not moving the ball well, you can't just have 35-yard punts or give up long returns, things like that. So a few things got to get better, and there's a potential.
It's true. All right, well, that wraps it up for our live show this Thursday. 1 week into fall camp. Fall camp is going to be going for a little bit more. We'll be here next Thursday at noon. Be sure to tune in and we'll answer all your questions. That is Shotgun Spratling. That is Ryan Abraham. And I'm Keely Eure. We will see you next week.